Good evening, y'all. A little bit of technical difficulties there for a second. For some reason, my camera got unplugged, or so the computer acknowledged that it was unplugged. Anyway, all right. One more night without Craig. Y'all keep him in your prayers. He's had a stomach bug, and from talking to him earlier, it's really kicking his butt. Um, and one more reason why I'm glad we do the podcast in separate locations because that way I don't get it, or I hope I don't get it. Let's change that. Anyway, we hope Craig gets you know very soon. Um, why is it doing that? All right, not sure. All right, how about now? Let's go back to the camera and see if that helps out. Um, Also, my mic is gone out. Boy, when things mess up, they really mess up. Let's see. All right. Well, I'm hoping y'all can hear me. We're gonna try it. I had to do this at my office tonight anyway. Um, for some other unforeseen technical difficulties there. But anyway, we're gonna try it the best we can. Like I told you a few minutes ago, Craig is down with a stomach bug. We wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll be back up and with us next Sunday. All right, so um, we always start out with how our weeks have gone, and I don't know about y'all's, but mine has gone pretty good. It was the week before Thanksgiving break, and so I am really thankful for for this break because I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of needed this one more than I thought I did. So it 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 is it's a good week to be off. You know, you got Hake Week coming up. You got Thanksgiving Day. This week, and so hopefully we uh we can enjoy all of that. Now, with that being said, great game. I mean, other than losing people that we didn't need to lose as far as injuries go, I mean, overall, I think we did what we needed to do on offense. We did what we needed to do on defense. Now, at the same time, I think Dabo pointed out that there were some drop balls. I know in the first quarter, um, you know, Cade, for whatever reason, takes a sack that he really needed to get rid of the ball with, in that situation. But at the same time, you know, I don't guess we should be surprised with that because as much as I've enjoyed watching some of Cade, what Cade can do. At the same time, Cade has made some plays like that and not made plays. I guess you'd say at times that you really would have hoped that he would have gotten rid of the ball, um, you know, stuff like that. Um, Now, again, it was Furman. You know, I'll be the first to tell you I really did enjoy watching Denson come in, in the final quarter and do what he did. But at the same time, from what I just said, it was Furman. Um, I, I do feel like Denson could be the future of this program at quarterback at some given time. But I don't, from everything that I can tell, I don't think he was ready, to take over, kind of like Cade did, whenever Cade came in. you know, that being said, how long before we do see him, you know, take over the spot? Um, all right, we've already got one of our number one watcher already chiming in. Um, yeah, that I agree. I agree, Jeff. It's weird because I mean I've heard people say before he's a gunslinger and he's always and I get that part. I really do. But at the same time, you know, as a senior, you got to know that you need to you want to live to fight another play, and that's the way that I've always looked at things when it comes to stuff like that. Um, you don't need to be making freshman mistakes as a senior, that's for sure. But hey, uh, we've seen it how many times, um, from Cade, and that's what is kind of it gets to be a little disappointing at times. Um, but at the same time, you look at it, you go at the same, or let me change that. If he does this and he goes and he throws it deep down the field and we score a touchdown, none of us are talking about this. You know, and that point in time, it's not a freshman mistake. It's wow, what a great play K just made whenever there was nothing there in the beginning. So um, now defense is going to look a lot different the rest of the season. One of my favorite players so far on this year's team, has been Jaheim Lawson, and Dabo did tell in his teleconference a little earlier that Jaheim is going to have I think tightrope surgery later on, and he's done for the rest of the season. Also, Pat Henry is having to have surgery on his ankle. I think Dabo was saying it's either today or tomorrow or something like that. I may be wrong on that, but I know he's having had surgery also. Is what I saw Dabo had said. All right, so you're gonna lose a tight end there, which is, I mean, he is a productive tight end. I don't want to say he's not going to be missed, but I don't think he's missed as much as Jaheim Lawson is on defense. Just my opinion. Um, you know, Jaheim has really come on strong this year. I've been really impressed with seeing him play at the level he's been playing at, and now we're going to be without him going up against Lenore Sellers and the Gamecocks. Not only them, but whoever we play in the bowl game. Um, hey, let's not forget that just a couple of weeks ago, people were questioning whether or not we could win another game, much less that whether we would be eligible for a bowl game or not. Okay, and yeah, I know everybody talks about they don't want this and they don't want that, but I'm glad we're going or we're gonna. Well, let me change that. I'm glad we are bowl eligible. That doesn't mean we're gonna get into a bowl. I mean, I feel pretty sure that we will, but at the same time, you know, that's going to give Denson. That's going to give a lot of these other young players chances to practice, and get ready for next year, even though it's not where we wanted to be. Now, before we even get to that point, though, remember what I said a little while ago. It is hate week, y'all. Everybody loves hate week. I got Carolina buddies that they started last week. Okay, even at my job, they're rolling through talking about how they were going to beat us and how this is going to happen. And all that. But it could. I mean, let's be straight up honest. But um, I believe it's going to be a very good game. I don't believe that we're going to be seeing a 16-7 game like we did last time we were in Columbia. But at the same time, I do believe that we'll probably get the win. And I'll discuss that, my prediction as we, you know, go on throughout the show and later in the show. It's people don't understand. It's really hard when you start out a show like this with a buddy of yours, and you can go back and forth, and you can throw things, and he can throw things back at you and stuff like that. And then for 2 weeks, he's not available, so it makes things kind of tough. So I appreciate y'all sticking with me, especially Jeff. You've been keeping things going, and I appreciate that, man. More than y'all know, because we've really embarked on this thing to have some fun, and to give other fans a chance to get involved and talk to us, and give us your thoughts. That's what this is all about. um are we all going to be right? Nah. I mean, sometimes I may be right, sometimes I may be wrong, sometimes Craig may be right, sometimes Craig may be wrong. Craig has been really doing a great job of picking against us, which has given us the chances to get some wins here recently, and I miss that too. So, um, you know, hey, we'll get there, y'all. I mean, for instance, who would have thought that two country boys from Clarendon County, South Carolina, could get to episode 13 of a podcast, and people not be, I guess, paying us to stop talking. I'm thankful for that. This has been a blast. We're going to continue to keep it going as long as we're physically able, and YouTube doesn't kick us off, or you know something like that. I mean, so um, now what are we looking at going into the USC game? Well, for starters, I think, or what do we need to see happen? I believe you need to see Cade, going back to what Jeff said a little while ago, not make freshman mistakes as a senior. Number one, okay. Number one, no, I'll go. I'll just say number one B. But let's go with number two. It is, I do believe that the offensive line, the patchwork offensive line that we have, is going to have to step up and step up big, because I can go ahead and tell you, their defensive line is stout. Okay, um, they they get after the quarterback. They've been able to get after the quarterback, and be disruptive. Um, number three, we've got on offense now. On offense, we have got to protect the ball, because that's one of the things that they have shined at this year, is having the ability to take the ball away. You take the ball away, especially if you're on your own end of the field, you're going to give them short field, and we've already seen what they can do whenever you do that. All right. Um, Now, you know, you can't be kicking field goals and expect to win this game. You you're gonna need some touchdowns. So that would be the next thing that I would say. We need to work hard on. We get deep. We need to score. All right. Now let's flip the script. What about defense? Um, Defense is going to be interesting, because like I said a little while ago, one of your defensive ends is out. So you won't be able to rely on him, and he's a pretty athletic fellow. I mean, you've got to be able to do what others have done, and that is keep Lenora Sellers in the pocket as much as you can. Once he gets out of the pocket, he can make things happen with his legs, and that's what you don't want to have happen. Um, so they have nothing else to play for at this point. So they're going to be throwing the kitchen sink at us, and you bank on that. Okay. Now, I do believe that our defense is good enough to rise up and make it happen. You just hope that um, we can do that, not have any more injuries during this game, and you know make stands when we need to make stands. Um, our offense has not done very well on third down. Our defense, on the other hand, the last few weeks has been able to hold teams that are normally good, and especially on third down, to keep them from getting third down conversions. There again, we've got to also keep if we get a team, if we get South Carolina behind the sticks, we can't give up a third and 20 or a third and 15, and expect that we're gonna be able to weather that. All right, Jeff says, I thought 2 weeks ago a win at Louisville would catapult us to finishing 7-5, but we have lost five contributors over the last couple of weeks. Adams, Jacobs, Henry, Lawson, Parks may be too much. I don't know. I agree, but I love the fact that right now we're living the next man up mantra that Dabo has always gone with. And yeah, he agrees protecting the ball is a must. Win third down, win explosive plays are what I think are the keys. I agree. I totally agree. That explosive plays will make a difference in this game. I do believe. Um, and who gets the most will have a lot to do with it. But at the same time, I stand by what I said a while ago. I think the turnover battle is what we're going to need the most. That's what we're going to, you're going to see, you know, affect the game the most of anything there. So you want to come out of this game with the turnover battle being in your favor. Let's just put it that way. Um, Now, our defensive backs are going to really have to step up, you know, and don't get beat like we've seen them get beat this year. And there again, that happens, you got a much better chance, especially against this team because I think the first play for scrimmage, if I heard it right, was like a 70-something yard pass. Now, and keep in mind, it wasn't a long pass from what I can gather. It was a pass from sellers to sellers, and then after that, it was a foot race, and people just couldn't tackle him. Again, I did not see it. As most of y'all know from last week, my niece got married last night, so we were enjoying the wedding and all of that. I got back in time to see some of the second half of our game, which was pretty much garbage time and you know Denson time, I guess you'd say, for last night. But you know it's going to be an interesting game, I believe. I do believe that neither one of these teams' records show what they were expected to be or how good they really are. Now, we've heard this before, and it's going to be interesting to see. Now, as far as emotions, because keep in mind this is Antonio Williams coming into his stomping grounds one last time. This is it. I mean, this is the end of the ride at Clemson. And you can be guaranteed that he does not want to go out a loser. I also believe, or I feel that Peter Woods and those want to, erase what happened last year in our stadium, where I mean, after the game, you had fans taking a belt and beating the Paul. I don't really understand what that's all about or where that came from or anything, but I can tell you this much. I hope I don't ever have to witness that again. So, um, all right. So after that, we'll then see where we land as far as bowl games go. Um, I have not really talked to anybody to find out, what it's looking like there. I kind of wanted to wait until after the season and see you know, what fell, where we fall out there. So, just been trying to wait and see, I guess you would say. Now, other another good thing that most everybody's not hadn't, or hadn't talked a lot about is we are fully into basketball season now, and the Tigers, they had 3 games this week. Let me see. I had it pulled up. I'm going to go on my phone. You know, went to sleep on me. All right, so um, all right. You had Georgetown last Saturday. Of course, we talked about it. We lost that one 79-74. Then on Monday, we beat North Alabama 81-61. And then the two big ones, okay? You had West Virginia and Clemson playing in the first round of the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic down in Charleston. Um, and we won that one 70-67. I watched that one. It was a really good game. Had to hold on, at the last to pull that one off. But one of the best games I think that I've seen this season so far was today's. We played in the championship game of that same classic, and won that one in overtime over Georgia, 97-94. That one was another one that, it came down to the final seconds of overtime. And, that is going, in my opinion, that is going to help this Tigers team, going forward, because Georgia is not a joke, okay? Or they didn't play, like they were a joke today. All right. And most everybody knows that I like Georgia about as much as I like South Carolina. All right. I'm going to say they're probably neck and neck as far as, how much I care about those two teams. And any win against Georgia and South Carolina is always good, in my opinion. So, um, but there again, Porter had a huge game today. That was great to see. Um, let's see if I can give you any. There we go. Recap. No, look for the box score. All right. So for the Tigers, you had Carter Welling with 11 points and 5 rebounds. He also had 2 assists. And then you had Wallen, and I'm sure I'm going to say some of these names completely wrong. Wallen with 6 points and 4 rebounds. Godfrey had 12 points and 7 rebounds. So another great game by Godfrey. You also had Porter, who led in scoring with 18 points. He had a masterful game today, from what I could what I saw. He also had 2 rebounds, and then Dylan Hunter had 16 points and 7 rebounds. So another good outing. It makes you feel a lot better. Get just isn't letting me. All right, Jeff, it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, 2 good wins this weekend. If we can find a way to split Alabama and BYU, it'd be huge. I agree. I would love to see that. Let's see. All right, so you got Alabama on Friday, and they're 3-1 right now. No. Hold on now. That's Alabama A&M. If we're talking about the same, if you're talking about the same thing, now keep that in mind. They're 3-1, and let's see. Trying to see if I can pull up the schedule. Hold on. All right, so all right, here we go. All right, so yeah. All right, you got Alabama. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, you got Alabama A&M on Friday. Then on December 3rd, you got Alabama. There we go. I apologize, Jeff. Um, and then you have BYU on December 9th. So, yes, those are going to be some huge games. Let's see. 6 in double figures was impressive. Good team win. It was. It really was. And that's the thing you want to see. These people are. I mean, these players are meshing together. Seems like, and that's huge. Um, may end up with a good non-conference resume. Yeah, yeah. That's what you would hope for. Okay, yeah. And I apologize. I didn't get I got ahead of myself when I because keep in mind I had the ESPN stats up there whenever you posted that, so I or said that I apologize to you. Um, then we play a December neutral site with BYU. Yes, yes. And so, yeah, those are going to be two big games because you got to think Alabama's number 11 right now currently. BYU is number 9 currently. So yeah, and then of course after that on December 13th you've got Mercer, and then the rivalry game which will be in Clemson this year on the 16th, um, which is the South Carolina Gamecocks. So it would be really nice if we could pay them back for that game in Columbia last year because man, I don't I went to that game and I hated it. I mean, I still feel like we could have won that game, or we should have won that game. So, but things happen, and that's why it's called, or that's why it says you play the games, and instead of just watching or looking at paper. So, because there's a lot of these teams that on paper should have won games that they didn't win, but yeah, it's shaping up to be a really good non-conference resume. Now, going to be interesting to see what happens when we get into conference play, because as we all know, the ACC is going to, they're usually a very very strong conference in basketball, and so it'll be interesting to see how we handle that once we get there. Um, not didn't see any major injuries. Over the last couple of games with the Tigers in basketball, which is a good thing. Um, you know, hey, gotta love what Brad Brownell has been able to put together, because most everybody was expecting this to be a very very down year. There again, we talked about it before. That's why the portal in basketball and baseball are so much different than it is in football. Okay. NIL is too. And so, you know, Coach Brownell's done a really good job of tapping into, these players into the portal and getting some very good players to come in. So it will be interesting to see, if he can continue to do that. So, hey, who knows? Well, y'all, I know it's 7:30, and had a little bit of a glitch at the beginning. So, um, hope everybody enjoyed tonight, and um, look forward to eating. Now, remember, I know on the Tiger Tailgate show they mentioned that we need to start eating chicken this week instead of turkey. But here's what I would tell you. Okay, Turkey Day is going to be Turkey Day. That does not mean that you can't have some chicken on Turkey Day as well. Okay, but what they were saying during the pregame show earlier yesterday, before yesterday's game, was that um, you know you got to eat chicken every day to give good mojo to the Tigers going into the rivalry game. Now, that being said, I like me some chicken, and I mean uh, I'm gonna choose chicken every day if you ask me. So, you know what I would tell you is have a great. Oh, The lights are going out, so hold on one second. Otherwise, y'all won't be able to see me on the end of the show. It's on a timer, so I have to keep getting up to make sure that the lights get cut back on, or the lights stay on. But that tells you right there. I think it was the telling me it's time to get off. And let y'all go enjoy your rest of your Friday evening. Jeff, we always appreciate you chatting in or jumping in, brother. I can promise you. Um, hope all y'all have a good Thanksgiving, and hopefully this time next weekend, Craig will be back, and we will be discussing another rivalry win, and then we can start discussing or talking about where the Tigers are gonna be headed for a bowl game. So, like I said, y'all have a great Thanksgiving, man. If you have any questions or have anything like that, don't hesitate. Send them our way. Let us know what you think. If you haven't already, go to our YouTube page and subscribe to the page and like the video. Share the video. Hey, I promise you, I will be sharing the video or this podcast throughout the day tomorrow. I usually give it until tomorrow to start sharing it, but I will be sharing it tomorrow. But don't hesitate, y'all. It's free to share. It doesn't cost you a dime. Doesn't cost us a dime. We don't mind it. All right. But until next Sunday, remember, go Tigers.